Okay. Let's go ahead and start.
Do you want to go ahead and start?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go.
There we're going, guys.
Barely see me. So. Oh, there we go. Some more of me. Better than let's just see. You want to be over here? Yeah. No one else is.
We've got a lot to accomplish, so we need to get started. Okay. My name's Andy Robinson. I'm Vice Chairman of the Public Works Committee, and I hereby call the meeting to order. First item is to accept an agenda. You have the agenda in front of you, Alderman Peterson. Do you have any changes or corrections or additions to it?
No, I do not.
So do you have a motion?
I would like to accept the minutes.
And I'll second. All those in favor say aye.
I mean, I'm sorry, the agenda,
The
not
agenda.
the minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So acceptance of the agenda has passed unanimously. Next is the minutes of March the 22nd. I've reviewed them and I'm ready for a motion unless there are edits or amendments that need to be made.
No, I accept the minutes as written.
Okay, so we have a motion by Alderman Peterson, second by myself. All those in favor of approving the March 22nd meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, passes unanimously. Ms. Locke, are there any ordinances or resolutions that we have to deal with tonight?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Let's save the budget review until our chairman gets here, but let's go on into the trash collection report, if you would, and that is tab B in our notebooks. Wonderful notebook staff, thank you. So we had an uptick in
Yes,
misses.
we did, and I don't have a clear explanation for that uptick. But in light of that, I did go ahead and pull the last year's worth of data. I thought it might be helpful, and it added a trend line there. And we have seen a reduction trend line over the last year, which is helpful to see. But I am still working through some of the increase that we see in that last week.
Okay, the company didn't give any explanation.
I have not received a clear explanation.
Okay, questions?
No, I like to see the downward graph. That is positive, if anything, but still unfortunate for misses, especially for the people that are involved with that. But I'm glad we have a reporting on our website where we can report misses and that is being tracked.
Yes. I will add, actually, Good Friday was the 15th. And so there were probably an increase of misses logged on Monday as a result of that being us being off.
Yeah.
So that would be one explanation. But
Any other questions on trash?
No.
Thank you, Ms. Locke. Let's look at Creekwood traffic calming. Creekwood is in Ward 6. And so you want to give a brief report and I'm ready for some discussion on it.
Sure, no problem. Yes, so in 2020, we received a request, and this was before full implementation of our neighborhood traffic calming program. We received a request for traffic calming, and we collected the data, and the data did show that the 85th percentile, 6 miles per hour over the posted speed limit. And so discussion at traffic and parking was that it would be there were some signage improvements recommended, which have been implemented. But it was recommended that once the roadway was repaved, that it would be good to add the longitudinal pavement markings to reduce the drive lane widths. And since that roadway was recently repaved, staff notified our contractor to apply those pavement markings. But I was since notified that maybe there was a concern by some of the residents regarding the pavement markings, and that they may not necessarily be in favor of them. So.
Hello. Come in. Hey, come in. We went on ahead and started to get some of the preliminaries.
All right. Good to see everybody.
Good to see you.
I'll grab your notebook quick. Oh, thank you. All right.
So we're on item C on the agenda, Creekwood traffic calming.
All right. Oh, okay.
So Sarah, we had that what initiated the review was one complaint or one request?
It initiated with Alderman Waters, I believe.
Okay, and now our standards have changed. Now what is required? More than one, right?
That's correct. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
I have received several calls from people off Creekwood, and the people that I've talked to are opposed to the lines. They said they've never had them.
Mhm.
But I want to do what's in the best interest, the public interest. I guess I would prefer to apply the new standard to any such request. That way it gives more than one person the decision to whether we put lines on roads or not.
Yes.
So I'd like to postpone this for 90 days.
Okay.
So if you could just bring it back in 90 days and let me continue to evaluate the public reaction to
Okay.
this. And please let me know if you get complaints on speeding.
I
you know,
will.
with that. Okay.
I would say I have not received any new complaints
Okay.
in at least a year, but probably since this time in 2020.
Very good. Are there any objections to that course of action? Just table it for 90 days. Okay. Mr. Chairman, the agenda is yours.
Well, thank you very much, but I'll tell you what, you just have done such a bang up job that I would like for you to just carry on. You are exceptional vice chair, and I appreciate that.
I'm always at the will of the chairman. So
Well, thank you very
I'll be
much. I
glad to.
appreciate it. It's
And
good
we
to
are
see
glad
you.
to see you.
Let me tell you,
It's been a rough.
the doctor said, he looked at me, said you were about 20 or 48 hours away from me not seeing you again. And so I'm just, if you don't believe in the Lord, you damn sure do now. I'm gonna tell you, buddy, I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah.
But I told him, I told my mother and my sister both, I said, just give me, a couple weeks, because I'm working real hard and I'll be okay. I'm just feeling good.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Well, we've been praying for you,
Well,
Mr.
thank you,
Chairman.
and I appreciate it. And I really do appreciate this committee more than you all realize, and our mayor and Jesse and everybody.
Yeah.
And Andy, I thought about you, believe it or not, when you're sitting there in the hospital bed late at night, and you know how they do. They come in and they check you
Oh.
every freaking,
Yes.
you can't get any sleep, but I genuinely did think about you all. I really did. And, but give me a couple of weeks and I'll be back. And I know I don't look right now, but I will be, I can assure you. But thank you. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Okay, item D is Sanders Ferry Greenway. Ms. Locke, what do you need from us tonight on that?
I just was providing an update that we had opened construction bids on this project on April 5th. I don't know that I need anything tonight as far as a motion. I just wanted to update the committee that the current funds in our budget are approximately $2,550,000. The construction bid came in at $4,846,925. We have accounted for an additional appropriation in our fiscal year 23 budget of $2,480,000, which gives us a total of $5,030,000. We will have CEI fees. In addition to that, we are working through the advertisement and contracting process for that.
Mhm.
It is anticipated the total project cost would be $5,331,925.
And our portion of that is what?
Our portion,
20%.
yes,
So it'd be $1 million.
given the additional funds through the GRNRC, if we are awarded the $1.5 million discretionary TAP funds, our portion actually will be just about $1.3 million because it doesn't quite meet all of the additional costs, but it's very close. So our local portion would be approximately 1.3.
Mayor, I know this is an important issue to you. Would you like to say anything about it?
When I came into office, I mentioned this is one of my top 2 or 3 priorities because it's been a project for so long, and especially for this area of town. Whereas not too long ago, the city voted to move the library and move City Hall out of that part of town. And the positive traffic for those businesses, a lot of it was removed. And so I want people to go to that part of town and spend some time and spend some money. But I also want people in that part of town to have this amenity.
And how much have we got allocated for this right now in the city budget?
In the fiscal year 22 budget, roughly 2.5 million.
Well, our cost is 1.3. It's estimated. How much do we have allocated that it's going to cost the city right now?
I'm sorry, I may not
So-
understand the question.
So if we budgeted 2 million, then we have our portion of that is 20%, right?
Correct.
So whatever we've got now, it's going to double the portion of the city cost. So I guess my question, is that going to be covered in the next year's budget?
Yes, so we have revenue that offsets that. So as we increase the fees, the expenditures will increase the revenues, less the 20%, that's our portion. So for example, if we had $1 million increase, we'd show 800,000 on the revenue side. We'd show the full million on the expenditure side. So in essence, when it nets out, in that scenario, our portion would be 200,000. So we just got the CEI, which is the construction engineering and inspection notice. So we're going to have to increase the budget slightly for next year. I think maybe a couple $100,000 of what's in the draft budget.
Three.
Okay.
Okay, I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman. Peterson. Okay, thank you for the update. Paving update, Ms. Locke.
Yes, so we are in full swing. We have essentially all of the roadways milled on a list, except for Cedar Springs and Crooked Creek Court. They've been paving at Saundersville, so that's wrapping up. One change to the list, it was in the process of being paved when this update was created, but Bentry Court and Bentry Drive are complete. And so we're in good shape to have this list complete within the next, I would say within the next month, but potentially, definitely by the end of the fiscal year.
That's exciting. Glad to see this on paper.
And then I guess after this paving, then we go into next year's budget. Is that right?
That's right, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I guess you're waiting until we approve the budget in order to outline what's next.
Yes.
Very good. All right. Any other questions on paving? I've got a question on paving. We had talked about at the last meeting, I talked about this new method of patching larger potholes.
Yes, sir.
And are we ready to move forward on that? That maybe that's called like a zero pothole initiative or something, that the staff been working on.
Yes, sir.
So how are we stand on that?
We're in good shape. The mayor has signed that contract, so that is fully executed as of, I believe it was yesterday. And so Trace and I have been looking at various locations to compose a list to share with the contractor, to begin with what remaining funds we may have.
So how much funds do we have for, I was going to ask that.
Yes, and I do not have a very good answer tonight. I have requested, we haven't been billed for all of this work.
Okay.
With the oil index increasing,
Yes.
I'm awaiting estimates from our contractor to see where we stand.
The only spot that I would like for the staff to pay special attention to is after 386 on Drake's Creek, right, pretty close to where the church is on the right, the Church of Indian Lake. There's a bad spot right in there,
Okay.
a pretty long spot
Yes, sir.
that it's not a pothole. It looks like acne.
Yeah.
It's all broke out.
Okay.
So that I would just like for the staff to look at that, to see if that would qualify. Mr. Chairman?
Also, I would ask for you to, on Sterling Drive, in Ward 1,
Yes, sir.
there's been, it's on the back end of Sterling, some potholes over there. I would ask for you all to take care or take a look at, make sure they're adequately taken care of.
Sure. Yeah, we'll take a look at that.
Thank you.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, so next item is light synchronization, and I hope we continue to have good news on that.
Yes, it's not bad news. We are working through some updates required by TDOT to the bid book and the technical specifications contained within. It's approximately 160 pages. Some of the specifications in there are redundant with TDOT's new specifications, and they would like that redundancy removed. And so our consultant is going through that process and removing any redundancy contained within. There were some other minor updates that we're working through related to like the DBD goal, the disadvantaged business goal for the project. So we are moving forward, just kind of cleaning up some of these things that changed a little bit over the last few years.
How long will this cleaning up take? When do you anticipate having the revised bid document from the consultants? Have they given you a date, or have you given them a date?
No, I haven't received a date. I would say 2 weeks.
So in 2 weeks, you're hopeful that we can put it out for bid.
That is my hope.
Is that
Yes,
the
sir.
last step before we bid?
Yes, sir.
That we-
My understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions on light synchronization?
Just glad it's continuing to move forward. That's the main thing for me.
It is moving.
So I think we had put out a capital project, you said summer of 22, that we would start construction. Does that date still look good to you?
I believe so, yes. Yeah.
Very good. All right, the next thing is, we waited, Mr. Chairman, is the budget review. And I don't know how's the best way to go about this. I've mainly paid specific attention to Public Works and Parks, since those are the two departments under our. So I've got questions of those, but should we just go through and ask anybody that have questions?
Yes, sir.
And not, instead of presentations, just questions. Start. Mr. Peterson, do you have any questions to start with on the budget?
I do. I was looking at the cover page of the fund balance, and I see it has doubled over last year. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the fund balance is projected. So what we left in on the column that says fiscal year 22, so on the left column, was what we started the year with. So what we're projecting to end 23 and 22 with is approximately double. It's not actual, those are budgets,
Okay.
but yes, it's double. Which is a move in the right direction.
Well, but we can't have too much of a sugar high on that, because that's ARPA, isn't it? That
The reason
contributes to the
yeah, that we have a
5 million,
we have a large
over
ARPA.
5 million,
That's right.
which pretty much, so it's a sugar high.
There are other one-time situations as well. And,
Yeah.
I mean, we've gotten almost $2 million from the state of Tennessee in the past 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Peterson? Yeah.
No, that answered my question.
On the ARPA money, is all of it, I know we got 2 payments. Is all of that accounted for in the 2023 budget?
Yes.
Okay, so that line item where you say one-time transfer of ARPA funds, is that the second one?
Yes, sir.
Have we gotten that check yet?
But today we did get approval from the comptroller on our spend plan. So premium pay for the comptroller was approved.
Good, since it's already gone out.
Yeah, but we were confident that it would get approved and it was.
Yeah.
And they also said our revenue loss was approved as well.
This is set a tax, sales tax set aside. I see it in 22, we set aside 300,
Yes, sir.
but we're not setting aside any
Correct.
in this year.
We did that to hit our minimum unassigned fund balance.
Okay,
And since it's met, there's no need to continue to set it aside.
and what is the minimum fund balance required by the comptroller or advised by the comptroller?
It's 16.67% of your operating budget. So depending on what your operating budget is, for us, that'll be about $8 or $9 million this year. So I can do the math for you. right
Okay,
now.
that's close. That's good enough for government. 8 to 9 million. So out of this fund balance of 10.28, we need to make sure that between 8 and 9 stays in there, correct?
That's what they recommend for unassigned. Yes, sir.
Okay.
$8.9 million.
This next page, let's look at hotel motel tax. This is under the expected revenues. What are you showing under FYI 22 estimated? You're showing 300,000, is that correct? Hotel motel.
Yes, sir.
Now, does that mean that we believe at the end of the fiscal year, we'll have 200,000 collected, received from hotel motel?
At the end of the year, it would be 300,000.
I'm sorry, 300,000.
Yes, sir.
You know where we stand right now on the hotel? It seems to me a little low. And are we doing that just as a conservative estimate? Because when I look at page 25. Where is, no, I'm sorry. This is in the finance committee report. Finance committee report gives an update on the hotel motel tax. It's on page 25 of the
Finance committee.
finance, I'm sorry, finance committee. Okay, yeah, that you see the number there. It looks like that we've almost already collected 300,000 under FYI 22.
Yeah, it does have a beginning balance at 82,000 at the top.
Uh-huh.
So if you pull that number out, it's probably more around 210,000.
Okay,
I think he's calculating the beginning balance in the account for that.
I didn't catch that. That's correct. I didn't catch that.
And
So,
the other thing too with the budget is we wanted to present the same budget that public safety in general saw at their previous meeting.
Mhm.
So these revenue estimates are going to be updated by the time it comes to the next budget workshop, because we'll have another month or two of actuals
okay,
to get us closer.
perfect.
So we were estimating these several months ago.
That answers my question.
Every day we feel like that number, increasingly every day we feel like that number's too low.
Yeah, well, I always focus more on expense than revenues, but to me, that looked like I just didn't account the holdover from the previous year.
I think he tries to. I think he's since we started tried to leave 60 or 70, maybe $80,000 reserve in there. Has some encumbered money from the year before for the sign project at exit 7. I think what y'all are saying is correct. We collected around 210. I think we'll get up to 300 by the end of the fiscal year, but
Yeah. And I don't know how much money of that was encumbered, so.
it was right at 70,000.
Okay, any other questions as we move forward? Grant revenue, looks like is the grant revenue the ARPA money?
Part of it,
The
yes.
reason that's so high.
And then like Saunders Ferry Greenway, we showed the expense. Well, this is where we show the revenue portion of it.
Okay,
So that's where if you net them, our expense is 1.3 million, not 5.3 million.
okay.
This is the revenue side of that.
Does that also include the grant we're trying to get for the Parks and Recreation, the $1 million, the 500,000? Is that also included in the grants there as a revenue side? Because it is an expense side. I noticed in Parks.
I don't know if that one was included, but I will follow up on this.
This is in the revenues under grant revenue. I just was wondering, we're showing it as an expense. I would think that we would show it as a revenue as well. I will check. Because you're showing $1 million for the rugby lights, and I assume that that's the 500,000. That's not only at rugby, but that's also some other stuff too, right? So let's just get to that question. If we don't get the grant, are we going to spend that money? If we don't get the grant, we haven't been awarded yet. So I would assume that if we don't get the grant, we're not going to spend the money.
Yeah. I
The
assume,
500,000.
right, yeah, I assume that project is tied to us getting awarded a grant. So absent a grant award, we would have to come, because we would need more money, so we'd have to come back to them with an appropriation that we currently don't have.
I would come back to
Good. Well, I just wanted to make sure so that if we don't get the grant, that will produce 500,000 savings in the budget right there. If we don't get the grant, then we won't spend our portion of it.
You sure that we don't have any revenues?
I don't know, but I will get a breakdown.
Okay.
Probably for this meeting.
And boy, Mayor, the 911 expense keep going up. There's no way we can control that cost, is there?
Not really, and it's, a lot of that's just the labor cost, is we have had such a hard time retaining employees. And it used to be where you could take a police officer and have them come in and be a dispatcher for half a day. It's not that way anymore. And it's just, the cost to retain those employees it's worth it when it comes to public safety. And I don't want to make it, something that, lives hang in the balance. But we have so many of our dispatchers that are working an awful lot of overtime. We don't want to lose that dispatcher. What we want to do is keep that dispatcher and cut back their overtime. And the way we do that is by paying them better and getting more dispatchers in there.
Have they hired a full-time director?
We did last week.
Okay.
Our interim director, we decided to hire her permanent.
Okay, very good.
And she's doing a wonderful job as interim, retaining employees and bringing in some new ones.
Anybody, I really don't want to dominate this, but so interrupt me. Andy, I have a question on your line 777 of this is 8,000 for ADA. Do we have any ADA issues that you're aware of in the parks?
About several $1 million worth.
Okay. And enough said.
We were, when the city did, Sarah can probably speak that better than me, when the city did the ADA compliance study throughout the city. Parks was, I think, the last piece of it that they went, but it's got millions of dollars of recommendation.
Okay.
We try to hit with our small number there, 777. We try to hit a sidewalk area or two per year to help connectivity there.
So the special events in parks, I noticed that we have reduced the line item there from 150 to 135. How did we do that?
Some events that we scheduled for this year, not that were one-time things, kind of looked at what we spent on certain things and tried to tighten the belt on some of it. That's basically all it boils down to. Some things we're projecting to be higher this coming year. Some things we have told, we're not going to do that. So
I noticed that the jam during a BOMA meeting,
Mhm,
that we're going to charge an admission fee to that.
we are.
And is that the first time we've done that?
No, sir. We've done that. in others, but
No,
that admission fee will be going to Live Love Nashville. The city we have collected sponsorship to cover our portion that we're spending on it
Good,
from Sumner County Tourism, Ball State Bank and Waste Pro.
good. And the nonprofits that are beneficiaries of our events, how are they being vetted? I mean, do they go through staff and then to the Parks Board and then to general committee, or what's the?
Last year,
approval
we took
process?
them to the nonprofit committee. So that'll be my plan again this year.
And who's the liaison, the BOMA liaison on the?
I have no, that's
It's Karen.
five board members
Okay.
make up the nonprofit. I don't know who they currently are.
So it's the 4 chairmen and then Karen is the additional person.
Very good. Okay,
I believe Karen serves as chairman because of.
very good. Sarah. Let's see, where is the stormwater? It's near the back of the budget. Stormwater, I got a question on stormwater and also State Street Aid
37.
37. Let's go there first. So is it true, what was the end of the year balance in the stormwater? What is it? Yeah, what is expected? Let's see. I guess my question is, are we spending the stormwater money? It looks like to me that every year there's a pretty healthy balance
Mhm.
left in that. And I'm just wondering, are we collecting too much? I mean, can we
No.
not spend it?
No, we definitely can. This fiscal year, we did something a little different and put the capital projects, a portion of the capital projects under stormwater,
Okay,
which a lot of those projects did not utilize the,
Mhm.
the stormwater money. And so we actually will be overspending the drainage control line item. Now, we may still have some left over, but we have a lot of projects in the queue. Once we see where we are, we will be scheduling additional projects. We definitely are, I mean, to be honest, we could probably do a reassessment of our fee and possibly collect additional money if we decide to do that in the next year.
well, let's not talk about that. right
Yeah,
now.
no, I'm just saying, we certainly have adequate projects to spend the money on.
Okay, so it looks like we're gonna, the request for 23 is 2.79 million.
I'm sorry for 20.
Grand total at the bottom, FY 23 request on page 38
Mhm.
is 2.79 million.
Yes, sir.
So what do we expect to have left after the budget? Do we have a projected?
I do not know what the projected balance is at this time.
Could you get that for me? Just what we expect the balance of the stormwater to be at the end of 23 projected?
At the end of 23.
It'd be fine with me if it's 0.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we're spending it.
Sure.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and we could definitely, we could spend all of that. We could also, I mean, the mid-year review is really helpful for that, because in the mid-year review, we did take some of that money and put it back into the drainage control to do additional projects.
I noticed that the roundabout at Durham is not on the capital projects from stormwater funds. Would that not qualify a portion of that?
It's listed as Drake's Creek Road improvements.
Oh, okay. So, all right, I just did.
The naming is just a little
Okay.
strange.
Very good, very good. And then on State Street Aid, what portion of State Street Aid actually goes for paving? I think I know the answer to that, but my math may be wrong.
Um,
34.
34, yeah, page 34.
Mhm. Approximately 25%.
Does that seem a little low to staff, that only 25% of State Street aid? I know that goes for personnel costs. What else does it go for? What else is it qualified to be spent for?
For sidewalks, which we are utilizing some of those funds to make ADA improvements identified through our self-assessment and transition plan. And then additionally, the no pothole initiative that we've been discussing will be in addition to that 465. That will be the 135 that's shown for special projects.
Okay, that was, I had
So
a
it
question on
is
that.
slightly more than 25%. But then additionally, our traffic signals. That qualifies for State Street aid to make some of those improvements in the street lighting. So we pay for some of that out of that line item.
I'd like to, I mean, I know all those are worthy projects, but I would like for as much of State Street aid to go for actual asphalt and the pothole, those two programs, until we at least catch up on some of the neighborhoods and stuff that hadn't been paid for a long time. So I'd like just for the staff to look at it, are there ways that we can increase that percentage and do actually more paving out of State Street paving than the 25%?
Okay.
It's just an aspirational goal, I guess.
And to a portion of the salaries and benefits is the employees' time to go out there right now, patch potholes, salt the roads and things of that nature. So it's a lined item, it's 465 for asphalt, but there's a lot of other costs with the personnel that are associated with road repairs.
So Jesse, on the page right above that, the FYI 23 budget, it says ending balance State Street aid, $400,000. What does that number represent? Or Sarah, whoever?
That represents the amount of cash we will have in that fund, because we have to collect those funds and spend them in their own fund, like own bank account. So that's what will be left at the end of the year if we spend exactly and we collect exactly as we project.
So is that a healthy balance to remain almost $500,000 in paving? Could we put more of that? Should we plan on more of that in paving, or is that just prudent budgeting to leave that much as a balance in that? That's just a question. Maybe we can talk about that.
It's
in the
close.
workshop.
It's close. We could probably pull a little bit out and put it in the line item,
More
but it's
paving.
pretty close.
That of what we need, because we need to be sure we cover personnel costs, as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the timing of when we get those funds is important.
Alderman Roberts, so are we right now projected, I lost her, $400,000 to be the final balance in State Street aid,
At the end of 23.
in State Street aid?
Yes.
Okay. So. What do you say? Thank you, okay. I'll talk to Jesse and Sarah about adding at least 150 from there into maintenance streets.
And let me ask you to think of something as well. The parking lot at Veterans Park. I rode over it the other day, and it's showing some major wear. Would it help if we, what is it called, fog seal, to try to get a few more years out of that pavement to try to do some maintenance on that? Does that qualify for State Street aid?
Yes.
Parking lot would.
I can help. Maybe
Okay.
when we were evaluating the parking lots, all of them 2 or 3 years ago, Veterans was beyond the fog seal. The parking lot that we have that is fog seal ready would be the major big parking lot for football and baseball and softball at Drake's Creek, because it's the most recently paved one. So We were told that the only one that they would recommend sealing would be that one.
When they, the consultant, a consultant.
That was Marshall at the time at Rogers.
Yeah. Would you look at that, relook at that? And
I hope it does. I mean, that's an important parking lot.
yeah, I think that could be a worthy portion of some maintenance to try to push down the road, having to go in and spend $1 million repaving some parking lots.
Sure.
Anybody disagree with just looking at that?
No. That was an issue that, Andy, you're right, that was an issue. I can remember that when it was discussed under the former Public Works Director. But I think that he wanted to go another way with it. Yeah.
That was just, I
remember talking about that actually, but that was a big deal. Still is a big deal.
So I'd like to try to squeeze a little more out of that, unless it's not prudent. I need y'all to tell us, no, we need 400,000 in there. I don't know
We'll look at it.
what prudent budgeting would require.
And I'm sorry, excuse me. Sarah, when we were talking about the paving list, you mentioned the oil index has increased. How is this going to affect the budget that we have already appropriated for paving and pothole repair, state street aid?
Right now, we're seeing a 10% increase in our asphalt prices based on the oil index increases. It comes out the first week of every month, so looking forward to seeing what it is next week, hoping to see a little bit of a drop like we've seen in our gas prices. But right now, it looks like about a 10% increase.
Do we have a 10% increase budgeted?
No, sir.
Which means less paving. If we don't
Means we're spending the
increase
sa-
that budget.
Yeah, we're spending the same amount of money, but we're getting less pavement.
Are we finished with Public Works?
I've got just on page 32. What is the CDBG grants?
You do that?
Those are the grants that planning gets. So right now they're doing the parking lot behind the senior center
Yes.
with the CDBG grants.
Okay, so this is not new money. This is because I thought Keith had recommended and the board voted to stay away from that money in the future.
Well, we're going from the guaranteed CDBG grant from the federal government to the competitive CDBG grant from the state. The difference is that with federal government, they're gonna give us the money and we have some strict guidelines on how we can use it. But with the state, we would apply for a specific type of project that we want. And it would be competitive, but we could also stand to get more money.
But they're not going to be strings attached to that money, are there?
There will be, but not near as many. So we can actually use it
Yeah.
for something that makes more sense for us.
Yeah, I'm very fearful of
I am
the
too.
federal government.
I thought it would also include sidewalks.
I would think it could. I don't think it's anything specific. I don't think it's specific to sidewalks.
Okay, I thought sidewalks were included when, with the paving. I thought that came before BOMA.
You might be thinking of a grant we got through GNRC
Yeah,
for sidewalks.
I think you're right.
Yeah, so we have two grants coming from GNRC that were sort of newish grants that came from ARPA money from the federal government. And one of
Okay.
those is specific to sidewalks that have to be, oh, yes, that's exactly, that have to be spent in the area that includes sort of our CDBG area.
Okay,
So that confusion makes sense. And it's CDBG versus GNRC versus all sorts of confusing things.
yes,
Yeah.
not confusing at all, but
Yeah,
I'm glad we've
Pretty
got the
close.
money.
Yeah.
We just need to spend it before the price continues to increase.
So Sarah, I'm a little concerned that we've taken out any line item expenditure for Drake's Creek, New Shackle Island Road intersection improvement. Marshall had put in last year 402, and I know that we didn't spend it, but we're not showing any line item on that possible improvement.
That's correct.
Why?
Because the county hasn't been awarded the additional funding yet, and then at such time that they are awarded and with clear guidelines, then we could at that time reevaluate possibly mid-year or as a separate ordinance to appropriate the funds.
I do know that the legislation didn't pass.
Yeah.
You sent us a notice on that. I think, anybody else? Questions?
I have one. We could go back to parks. Unless someone else wants to talk about public works. I have a question about the inmates that we had used previously. Can we revisit that? I believe that was halted during COVID.
For that. So there's two issues there. One is that we've got to have somebody trained to be their supervisor. And it can't just be anybody. They have to go through training. I think you have.
I can address it.
Yeah.
We have 3 guys that are trained, but one of them is actually a part-time Sumner County Sheriff's deputy. And we check on it monthly and nowhere close to getting them back. And it has mostly to do with the way the judges are sentencing the inmates. They don't even have enough, they're not even sending them out to animal control like they used to. This is basically, we're not hopeful at all
Okay.
of getting them back anytime soon, if ever.
And is it,
And it's a shame because we had 6 guys every day, Monday through Friday for 7 hours that were doing things like weed eating. And so when you lose that, that is a lot of man labor hours.
absolutely.
And we were able to add 2 full-time guys 2 years ago. That's all we've added to our staff since in terms of maintenance.
Lee, I have not asked the sheriff about this in a little while. I'll see him tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll ask him if that's gotten any easier for him.
What about city court?
I mean, we have, there's people that email or call us asking to do that, whatever they're assigned from the court, a couple hours here and there. But when you're talking about what we can make use of, it's guys that we need to be able to train and have people supervising them and not just hand them a picker and a trash bag and saying, go clean up over here.
Which we do regularly.
We have people that anytime somebody contacts us that needs community service from court, we will put them to work. But those inmates were, if you talk to our maintenance staff, with especially Jeremy, our park superintendent that works at the sheriff's office, he will tell you we were lucky to have it as good as we had it for as long as we did. We didn't have guys try to run. We didn't have incidents.
How long did that?
Long time.
Long time.
Yes.
Be good to
Well,
get that
outdated
back.
me. It's not, I mean, if the clientele is there to give it to us, I mean, we had guys that we would have on our inmate group for a year at a time that really knew what they were doing when they came to work. So that was losing a major piece of maintenance.
The only expense was we had to buy them lunch, correct?
We had bum lunch and we gave them clothes that made them look like parks workers,
Mhm.
basically. That was it, about 13,000 a year.
Benefits outweigh the cost.
Oh, by far. By far. And we routinely check in because Tracy uses them too. Not just us, so it works too. But the county, I can assure you, is going to take the first, if inmate crews come back full force, they're going to take them first and use them for their properties before we get.
I'll ask tomorrow morning.
Okay, thank you.
Andy, on the special events for this present year, I noticed that the tree lighting. Hold it. No, on the Festival of Lights, the city tree display cost us $7,000. What in the world did that include? $7,000.
That includes lighting the city tree, doing the fountain and all the trees behind the fountain.
Okay.
That will go up this year to 8,000 or 9,000.
So we don't have the lights. The company
We
comes
own the
in.
lights. That is
labor?
them coming in, replacing commercial commercial grade lights that is what those are. They're not stuff you can buy at Lowe's and Walmart, but they go out all the time. So they'll come in, they do the labor, they make sure it's hooked up right. And that way it stays on all the time instead of 3 or 4 years ago when we were doing it, we were going over in the middle of the night, plugging it back in, and shorting the fuses and all that good stuff.
Well, it looked beautiful. I have to admit, it looked
It
nice,
does.
but that just
And that was something we bid out also, so.
7,000, yeah. Okay, so we think it's gonna be about that again this
I
year or
expect
higher.
it to go up to 8 or 9.
Wow.
I'm gonna try my best to do a bid that will try to lock us into some sort of 3-year agreement, but I'm sure they'll put up a cost increase factor in that agreement.
Well, any other questions, Mr. Chairman or Alderman Peterson? This is a quick review, but at least we got some of our questions answered. I guess we can have more of them answered at the workshop. We'll have an opportunity
Yeah,
to.
when, if I may, Chairman?
Yeah.
When were we gonna have, I know I missed the last one, but when, what is our schedule there?
I was gonna ask tonight, but at the board meeting, but I'll go ahead and ask y'all now. How do y'all feel about? How do y'all feel about the 9th at 5 PM?
May the 9th.
May the 9th at 5 PM.
That's the day after Mother's Day, right? But I'm available.
No, that's fine with me.
Yes.
I'm game.
Maybe I'll go ask the finance committee the same thing, and then we'll just put it on the calendar. That's 7 of us. Okay.
Maybe, Mayor, if we have pizza, maybe more people. will come. What is that old saying on Field of Dreams? If you feed them, they'll come.
Yeah. I wish I could have pizza, but I would eat the hell out of it. I'm sure of that.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Any other organizational things or anything that we need to deal with tonight?
I did hear back from Mr. Manning that the rugby 500,000 is included in the grant revenue.
I assumed that it was. So if we don't get it, we lose that revenue, but we also lose the expense.
We've been told we should know by June.
Okay.
Let's hope. I'm kind of tired of waiting.
Well, if there's no other business to come before the committee, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, we went 5 minutes over.
Hey, it was perfect. You need a motion to adjourn. I was so moved.
I will second that.
All right, all those in favor, adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
All right, carries. Thank you.
Thank you.